From my Okinawa post, my father gave my house to my deadbeat brother's debts. I came home, they stood laughing on the porch. You're homeless now. I only smirked. What's so funny? They snarled. I said, that home you sold was actually. Can you imagine coming home from a military deployment, only to have your own father greet you on the porch with 4 words that shatter your entire world? He just looked at me, a smug little smirk on his face, and said, You're homeless now. The taxi hadn't even pulled away. I was standing there, my sea bag still cutting into my shoulder, the dust of Okinawa still on my boots. I hadn't taken 3 steps toward the house, my house, before he dropped that bomb. No hello. No welcome home. Just a sentence that landed like a punch I never saw coming, and it hit way harder than any shockwave I'd ever felt on duty. I just froze. What are you talking about? My brother, Chad, snorted into his beer from a porch chair. We sold your house, sis. Try to keep up. And they laughed. They actually laughed. My father and my brother, laughing at me, their daughter and sister, standing in my own driveway after months overseas, finding out everything I'd worked for was just gone. My father pointed a lazy thumb toward the front door, like this was all some casual inconvenience. Your brother needed help. Family sacrifices for family. You weren't here. You didn't need the place. Then he added the line that told me exactly how little they thought of me. You Marines bounce around anyway. What's one house? I should have exploded. I should have cursed them out, broken down, fallen apart right there on the gravel. But I didn't. Instead, a slow, cold smile spread across my face. A smile that wiped the smug grins right off theirs. My father's brow furrowed. What's so funny? Oh, just... I started, letting the words hang in the air. The house you sold was actually... But before I finished that thought, let me take you back. Because this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment screw-up. Oh no. They planned this. They just didn't plan it very well. 3 months earlier, I was in Okinawa, halfway through a 6-month rotation. It was short duty, not glamorous, but predictable. And after years of deployments, predictable felt like a luxury. I owned my house for 8 years. Bought it myself, right after my second tour. Renovated it room by room with my own 2 hands. It was my anchor. The one solid thing in a life of constant motion. But every time I called home, things felt off. My father would sound irritated, like my call was an interruption. Chad, my 30-something brother and perpetual project, had moved back in with Dad after losing another job. When I'd ask Dad what Chad was doing to get back on his feet, he'd get defensive. He just needs time, Maria. Don't be so judgmental. I'd hear strange voices in the background, dishes clattering. And then one time, I heard a voice I didn't recognize yell, Did she send the money yet? And just like that, the line went dead. My blood ran cold. I tried to tell myself I was overthinking it. I was thousands of miles away. Maybe I just didn't understand what life was like back home anymore. Then, 2 weeks before I was due to fly back, I got a text from my father. 5 words. Call us before you come home. No punctuation. No explanation. That cold twist in my gut, the one every service member gets when they know something is wrong, it was there. But the end of a deployment is chaos. By the time I found a moment to call, it went straight to voicemail. Twice. I told myself it was fine. My flight was booked. I'd be home soon. And then I was, standing in my driveway, staring at the 2 people who were supposed to be my family, realizing they had sold the roof over my head. They thought they had me. They thought I was broken. My brother lifted his beer in a mock toast. Don't look so shocked, sis. You were gone. Dad had power of attorney. It was easy. I kept that smile plastered on my face. Is that what he told you? I asked, my voice dangerously soft. My father shifted. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer him. I just set my sea bag down with a thud, brushed the dust off my uniform, and started walking toward them. They thought my calmness was shock. They had no idea I was calm because I was already 10 steps ahead of them. Marines don't come home hoping for the best. We come home prepared for the worst. And then the front door opened. It wasn't my dad's girlfriend. It wasn't a neighbor. A woman I'd never seen before stepped out, holding a coffee mug that said Mama Bear. And in that instant, my stomach just dropped. Who are you? I asked, my voice flat. She offered a hesitant smile. I'm Emily, the new owner. My father winced. Chad suddenly looked very interested in the label on his beer. The house wasn't just sold. It was closed. It was done. And yet I still smiled. Congratulations, I said to the woman, my voice gentle. I'm Maria. But did they happen to tell you everything? Emily blinked, confused. Everything. I looked straight at my father, whose face was starting to lose its color. Did they tell you, I said, pausing to let the weight of the moment sink in, that the house you just bought isn't actually theirs to sell? Emily's eyes widened. My father's voice cracked. Maria, don't. Oh, I was just getting started. Emily looked from me to my father, then back again, her hand clutching her coffee mug like a lifeline. I don't understand. The paperwork. I'm sure the paperwork looked official, I said, keeping my voice steady. But paperwork can be misleading. I looked at my father, whose face was now a blotchy mix of red and white. Even Chad had stopped trying to look tough. He knew. They both knew I had them. My father says a lot of things, I continued, turning back to Emily. Let me ask you, did you have an attorney review the sale? She shook her head. No. His friend, Adam, handled it. He said it wasn't necessary for a simple family transfer. Adam? Of course. A shady acquaintance of my father's who specialized in cutting corners. Emily, I said gently, feeling a pang of pity for this woman caught in their web. I'm sorry you were dragged into this. But this house was purchased using a VA home loan. I let that sink in. That means there are federal protections. Rules. Selling it without my direct, in-person consent, using a general power of attorney while I'm on active duty overseas. I looked directly at my father, my voice dropping to a low, sharp tone. That's not a family issue, Dad. That's a federal issue. And it's called fraud. Silence. The kind of ringing silence that's louder than any shout. Emily's face was ghost white. Chad looked like he was going to be sick. And my father, for the first time, he just looked scared. Are you saying the sale is invalid? Emily whispered. I'm saying, I replied, that you need to call a lawyer. Right now. My father finally exploded. You're ruining everything. No. I shot back, my calm finally cracking. You ruined everything the moment you saw my service as an opportunity. The moment you decided your daughter was expendable. Chad muttered something about my marine attitude, but I ignored him. I was already walking away, hoisting my sea bag back onto my shoulder. My father yelled after me, his voice raw with panic. Where are you going? You don't have a home. I stopped at the edge of the driveway and turned back to face them, the two men who had tried to erase me from my own life, silhouetted against the porch light of the house that was still, legally mine. That, I said, and this time my smile was genuine, is what you think. The next few weeks were a calculated storm. I didn't get revenge. I got accountability. I had already spoken to a JAG officer in Okinawa. I knew the steps. I went to the sheriff. I contacted the VA, and I cooperated with Emily's attorney. The whole flimsy, illegal sale unraveled thread by thread. My father and Chad were investigated for wire fraud and misuse of a power of attorney. Adam, their shady middleman, faced charges of his own. The sale was officially voided. Emily and her husband were fully reimbursed, their relief so palpable you could feel it. They were good people, caught in a trap set by my family's greed and weakness. The hardest part was the final conversation with my dad. He met me at a diner, looking 10 years older. There were no more excuses, no more blustering, just a broken man. I was so scared of losing Chad, he whispered, staring into his coffee. He owed people, bad people. I thought you were strong enough to take the hit. I thought you just bounced back. That's the thing, Dad. I told him, the anger gone, replaced by a deep, hollow sadness. Being the strong one doesn't mean you don't bleed when you get stabbed. It just means you have to patch yourself up alone. He finally broke down, sobbing right there in the booth. It wasn't a fix. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was the truth. Months later, after all the legal dust had settled, I finally turned the key in my own front door. The house was empty, quiet. It smelled like fresh paint and second chances. I walked through the rooms, running my hand along the walls, feeling the ghosts of the past year fade away. I wasn't just home. I was whole again. Betrayal, doesn't have to be the end of your story. Sometimes, it's the beginning of learning just how strong you really are. So, I have to ask you, what would you have done in my shoes? Was I right to bring in the law, or should family matters stay private, even after a betrayal like this? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.